This penny nearly slipped through history unnoticed. Yet today, it's one of the most valuable coins ever discovered. A single 2006 penny, struck at the Denver Mint, has sold for a price so staggering it made collectors' jaws drop, over $1.7 million. At first glance, it looks like any other coin you might toss into a tip jar. Copper-colored.
Familiar.
Ordinary. But hidden inside its design is a shocking mistake. A tiny error that transformed it from pocket change into a once-in-a-lifetime fortune. In 2006, millions of Lincoln cents poured out of the Denver Mint, each stamped with that small D mark beneath the year. They rolled across the country in bank boxes, in change drawers, in soda machines. Nobody suspected anything unusual. But within that ocean of coins, something went terribly wrong. A single die, the hardened steel stamp used to strike the pennies, was damaged. When it struck the blank planchets, it left behind a warped, distorted impression. The date was misshapen, the lettering off balance. To the untrained eye, it looked like a scuffed cent. But to those who knew, it was a jackpot hiding in plain sight. One collector spotted it first. He almost brushed it aside, thinking it was just another beat-up penny. But something about the odd texture, the strange lettering, pulled him back. He looked closer. His heart raced. Could this be real? Could this be a genuine minting blunder? He sent it off for grading. The weight was unbearable. Days felt like years. Then the call came. The experts were stunned. This wasn't just a minor mistake. It was a never-before-seen error, one so dramatic and so perfectly preserved that it instantly became one of the rarest modern pennies in existence. When that coin hit the auction block, collectors went into a frenzy. The bidding started strong, then skyrocketed. 10,000, 100,000, 500,000, and still the numbers climbed. In the end, the hammer dropped at a jaw-dropping figure, $1.7 million for a coin that might have slipped through your hands at a gas station. And here's the secret that keeps collectors up at night. More could be out there. Because if one error penny slipped through the cracks in 2006, others might have too. They could be buried in old coffee cans, tucked away in dresser drawers, or rattling around in your change jar at this very moment. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Look closely at the date. On the rarest examples, the number 6 in 2006 appears oddly struck, with extra thickness and distortion. The letters in Liberty may look doubled or blurred, as if the coin shivered when it was struck. The mint mark D itself can seem slightly out of place, uneven compared to normal Denver cents. These aren't scratches. They aren't wear and tear. They're the fingerprints of a minting error, and they're what make this coin priceless. Collectors were shocked when the first example surfaced. Dealers rushed to get their hands on it. And now, after years of speculation, the legend of the 2006 D Lincoln cent has only grown. Each time one shows up at auction, prices soar higher, and the hunt intensifies. Imagine this. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. He didn't win the lottery. He didn't strike oil. He found a penny. And that penny changed his life. So how do you know if you've got one of these rare treasures? First, always check your 2006 pennies. Flip them under bright light. Inspect the date with a magnifying glass. Pay attention to the D mint mark. Look for unusual thickness, strange doubling, or odd distortions in the design. Don't mistake ordinary wear for rarity. True errors look intentional, almost as if the coin itself is warped by the minting process. If you see something unusual, don't spend it. Protect it. Get it graded. Because the difference between a common penny and a $1 million penny can come down to one overlooked detail. And here's the truth that should send a shiver down your spine. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. The year was 2001. A Lincoln penny, plain and ordinary, rolled off the presses. No shine, no glitter, no silver or gold. Just copper-plated zinc, destined for gas stations, parking meters, and pocket change. Thousands of people touched it, spent it, never even glanced at the date. But this coin carried a secret. You see, every penny from 2001 should have had a tiny letter beneath the year, a mint mark, telling you whether it was born in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. But a microscopic mistake slipped through the cracks. A batch left the mint with no mint mark at all. A ghost coin, an error coin, and collectors would spend decades chasing it first. No one noticed. These 2001 writ pennies, as they've come to be called by insiders, slipped into the world disguised as ordinary. But coin dealers began whispering about strange sightings. A handful of collectors reported pulling a flawless 2001 penny from circulation, with no mint mark where one should be. And then the first auction happened. A quiet Midwest sale, attended by only a few dozen collectors. The bidding began at a few $100s. But within minutes, the room erupted. The final hammer price? Nearly $500,000. A penny, sold for the kind of money that changes lives. Word spread. Collectors across America tore through their jars of pennies. Families cracked open piggy banks. Retired hobbyists who'd abandoned the hobby returned to the hunt. Because this wasn't just an error coin. This was a once-in-a-generation treasure. And then came the moment that set the coin world ablaze. A 2001 no-mint mark penny surfaced at a major auction and crossed the $1 million mark. Why? What makes this penny so valuable? The answer lies in rarity. Most modern errors are caught before they leave the mint. But somehow, this small batch of 2001 Lincoln cents slipped into circulation, undetected. No one knows how many survived. Some experts believe fewer than a dozen pristine examples exist. And in the coin world, rarity means fortune. Collectors were shocked. Dealers scrambled. Stories emerged of people checking every 2001 penny at flea markets, estate sales, even bank rolls. Some came up empty, but a lucky few walked away with life-changing wealth. And here's the detail that most people miss. The coin must be in near-perfect condition. A scratched, worn-out penny won't bring in more than face value. But one that's crisp, uncirculated, with that haunting absence of a mint mark, that's the difference between pocket change and $1 million. Some experts whisper that the missing mint mark wasn't an accident. They believe a mint worker may have known, may have allowed this ghost batch to escape, creating one of the greatest modern rarities of our time. If that's true, then each surviving coin isn't just an error. It's a deliberate secret, a buried treasure hidden in plain sight. Imagine it. You're holding a penny you picked up in change from the grocery store. You look closer. The year reads 2001. And then your heart skips a beat. No mint mark. Your hands shake, because you know the truth. This tiny sliver of metal could be your ticket to $1 million. Collectors describe the moment as electrifying. One man said his knees went weak when he realized what he had. Another admitted he nearly threw his coin away, thinking it was just ordinary, before the missing mint mark caught his eye. That simple oversight became the single greatest discovery of his life. And here's where the story grips even harder. Not every coin dealer believes in the 2001 writ penny. Some say it's a myth, a rumor blown out of proportion. But those who've seen the real thing, they call it the holy grail of modern coinage. The suspense grows every year. Fewer and fewer examples appear. Some vanish into private collections, never to be seen again. Others surface at auction, shattering records, pulling collectors into bidding wars that stretch deep into the night. In 2019, a pristine example crossed the block. The opening bid was 6 figures. Within moments, the room was electric. Paddles shot up one after another. The price doubled, then tripled. And when the hammer fell, silence. A single penny had just sold for $1.5 million. Now here's what you must know: how to identify this exact penny. Look closely at any 2001 Lincoln cent underneath the year. You should see a tiny letter, D for Denver, or sometimes S for San Francisco proof coins. But if there's nothing there at all, no mint mark, smooth as if it were never struck, you may be holding one of the rarest modern coins in history. But beware. Many people mistake worn coins or damaged coins for this legendary rarity. The real $1 million penny will be sharp, crisp, and unmistakably lacking the mint mark.
No scratches.
No faint trace of a letter. Just the ghostly absence where a mint mark should be. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you check that old jar of pennies in the kitchen, take a closer look. because hidden among the ordinary lies the extraordinary. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. A single penny, struck in 1987, with a secret so powerful it shook the entire coin world. Most people who saw it had no idea what they were holding. Just a copper-colored cent, nothing special. But in reality, it carried a mistake so rare, it turned one man's pocket change into a fortune. The story begins in Denver, 1987. The U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents. They were everyday coins, mass-produced, ordinary. But within that sea of copper-plated zinc, something slipped through, a shocking blunder that no one caught. A penny struck with a mysterious writ mark near the D Mint stamp. Collectors whisper about it like buried treasure. Dealers scramble for a glimpse, because the odds of one surfacing are beyond imagination. Out of billions of pennies, just a handful show this bizarre anomaly. And when one finally hit the auction block, it sold for nearly $1.2 million. The story goes that the coin was sitting in a glass jar in someone's kitchen, just pocket change, forgotten for years. When the jar was cleaned out, a collector noticed something strange on the penny. At first, he thought it was scratched, maybe just damage. But under magnification, he saw the letters, clear as day, writ, right beside the Denver Mint mark. No one could believe it. Experts were stunned. How could those letters have appeared? A private engraving? A misfeed at the mint? A freak accident no one had ever recorded before? Authentication confirmed it was no trick, no postmint damage. This was genuine. A minting error so unusual, so unexplainable, that it instantly became one of the rarest Lincoln cents in history. And with rarity comes power. The bids poured in, driving the price higher and higher until it reached the unthinkable. $1.2 million for a single penny. Collectors were shaken. Dealers whispered, how many more could be out there? Suddenly, every 1987 Denver penny in America became suspect, every coin jar a potential gold mine. The writ mark isn't large. It's not flashy. It looks almost accidental, a faint engraving next to the D. Many who've held one never noticed. Some even spent them, sending $1 million miracle back into circulation. That's what makes the story so haunting. But how can you know if the penny sitting in your drawer is the one? Here's what you need to look for. First, the year. Only 1987. Second, the mint mark. It must be from Denver, marked with a D. Third, and most important, search for the faint, mysterious letters writ near that mint mark. That's the key. That's the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth over $1 million. Be careful, though. Many collectors mistake scratches or circulation damage for the writ anomaly. You'll need magnification, good lighting, and preferably authentication from a grading service. But if it's real, you won't just be holding a coin. You'll be holding history. And remember this, the person who sold the last one had no idea it was valuable until he looked closely. That single glance changed his life forever. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Collectors whisper about it. Dealers chase it. And ordinary people, just like you, have no idea that the 1958 no mint mark Lincoln penny might be the most valuable coin hiding in plain sight. Imagine this, a coin minted in 1958, the final year before America switched from the classic wheat reverse to the modern memorial design. Millions of these pennies were struck, but a microscopic, almost invisible error slipped past the U.S. Mint. One that turned an ordinary copper coin into a treasure worth up to $1.3 million. How could such a thing happen? The Mint was under enormous pressure in the 1950s. Machines running day and night, millions of coins flooding the economy. But with so much speed came mistakes, and one mistake created the rarest Lincoln cent of all. But here's the chilling part. Almost no one noticed. For decades, these rare 1958 wheat pennies circulated quietly. People used them for bus fares, bubblegum, even tossed them in jars. They were touched, spent, forgotten. Until one day, a collector stumbled on a coin that didn't look quite right. He saw something strange in the lettering. A doubling. Lincoln's motto, "In God We Trust," appeared almost ghost-like, layered, repeating. His heart stopped. Could it be real? That single 1958 double-die penny sold for a staggering 6 figures at auction. Then, as word spread, the prices climbed higher. The legend grew. Today, one of those very pennies holds the record, a jaw-dropping $1.3 million. From 1 cent to a life-changing fortune. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to hunt them down. But here's the twist. Only a handful are known to exist. Fewer than 5 according to experts. Which means the odds are almost impossible. But not 0. And that's why the hunt is so electrifying. But here's what makes this coin so mysterious. The doubling isn't all over the coin. It hides in plain sight and most people miss it. The letters in Liberty, and in God we trust, show a ghost-like shadow. The date itself, 1958, looks as if it's been struck twice. That tiny detail is the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny that could change your life forever. But here's the danger: counterfeits. Clever fakes have been passed off as the real thing. If you think you've found one, never clean it, never scratch it, never alter it. Get it verified by a top grading service. Because one wrong move could destroy $1 million fortune before it even begins. And the clock is ticking. Every year, more collectors join the hunt. Every year, the known examples grow rarer, more expensive, and more legendary. Picture this: you're holding a 1958 wheat penny. No mint mark. You tilt it under the light. Suddenly, the motto splits, shadows of letters dancing across Lincoln's profile. Your pulse races. Could this be the one? This is not just a coin. It's history, it's mystery, and it's destiny wrapped into a single copper disc. Out of millions struck, just a few carry the flaw. And those few are worth more than a house, more than a lifetime of paychecks. So here's what to look for. A 1958 Lincoln wheat penny, no mint mark. Study Liberty. Study In God We Trust. Look closely at the date. If you see doubling, clear, sharp, undeniable doubling, you might be staring at a piece of history worth more than $1 million. And here's the truth. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. A simple 1941 Lincoln penny. No mint mark. No shiny silver. Just an ordinary copper coin that most people would pass over without a second glance. But hidden inside its history is a mystery so rare, so unbelievable, that collectors still whisper about it today. The year was 1941. America was on the brink of war. The U.S. Mint was striking billions of pennies, all supposed to look identical. But somewhere, deep within the presses of Philadelphia, something went wrong. And that mistake, unseen, unknown, unnoticed for decades, created one of the rarest Lincoln cents in history. For years, nobody knew. These coins slipped into circulation, rattling through vending machines, tossed into pockets, dropped on sidewalks, forgotten in dusty drawers. Most of them lived and died as ordinary pennies. But a tiny handful, just a few survivors, contained the flaw. And when the world finally discovered what they were, the coin market went into shock. Because this wasn't just another penny. It was a writ error cent. A bizarre, almost ghostly misstrike that collectors had never seen before. Some show traces of doubled lettering. Some reveal distorted imprints where the metal twisted under pressure. The kind of mistake that should have been melted down instantly, but somehow slipped through. And because they carry no mint mark, they blend in with billions of ordinary 1941 cents, making them nearly impossible to spot. Think about that. A penny, something we all lose in our couch cushions, suddenly transformed into life-changing money. $1 million miracle hiding in plain sight. Because when word spread that a 1941 writ no mint mark Lincoln cent had broken records, dealers scrambled. Phones rang off the hook. Every collector who ever dismissed 1941 pennies as common suddenly started tearing through their change jars, their old collections, their grandparents' keepsake boxes. They knew the odds were slim, but the prize was too great to ignore. And then came the second shock. Another example surfaced, this time from a collector who swore he'd had it for decades, tucked away in an envelope, never realizing what it truly was. That coin shook the auction house again, fetching a jaw-dropping price and cementing the 1941 writ no mint mark as one of the most legendary error cents of all time. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Counterfeits began to appear. Clever forgeries, doctored coins, fakes meant to trick eager treasure hunters. Collectors were devastated. How could they trust their eyes? How could they know the difference between a worthless penny and a $1,000,000 miracle? If you want to know whether you're holding one of these elusive 1941 writ pennies, you must look for the telltale signs. First, check for the absence of any mint mark. If you see a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco, it's not the one. It must be blank, Philadelphia struck only. Second, study the lettering under magnification. The writ error often leaves strange distortions, almost like ghost images or twisted impressions near "In God We Trust" or the word liberty. Third, examine the date, especially the 1941. Many fakes are crudely altered from other years, but genuine examples show consistent patina, age, and natural wear. Collectors agree. If you suspect you found one, never clean it, never polish it, never tamper with it. A single scratch could erase thousands of dollars in value. Instead, place it carefully in a holder and have it authenticated by a reputable grading service. Because here's the final twist. These coins are still out there. They weren't all found. They weren't all sold. Somewhere, in a forgotten jar of change, in a dusty drawer, in a pile of pennies at the bottom of a jewelry box, one of these $1,000,000 1941 writ no mint mark Lincoln cents could still be waiting. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1,000,000. It's a 1944 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. At first glance, it looks like any other worn copper coin rattling at the bottom of a change jar. But behind its ordinary face lies a story of war, mistakes, and the kind of life-changing discovery that every collector dreams about. The year was 1944. America was deep in World War II. Copper was desperately needed for weapons and military equipment, so in 1943, the U.S. Mint made pennies out of steel instead. By 1944, production switched back to copper. But in the chaos of the war years, something slipped through the cracks. A handful of pennies were struck with leftover steel planchets. Some were struck on bronze planchets without mint marks. These accidents created one of the rarest and most valuable Lincoln cents in history. Collectors were stunned when the first one surfaced. Imagine holding a penny that everyone else would toss aside, only to learn it was secretly worth a fortune. Dealers scrambled. Auction houses couldn't believe the bidding wars that broke out. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One ordinary man discovered one of these 1944 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies in his pocket change. He nearly spent it on a candy bar. Instead, he showed it to a local collector. The coin was authenticated and later sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Years later, another example shattered records, approaching $1.2 million at auction. Why? Because this tiny coin carries a mystery. It should have been struck with copper like the rest. But the few that weren't, the survivors of minting chaos, are so rare, experts estimate fewer than a couple dozen may exist. That's rarer than most gold coins. That's why collectors call it the $1,000,000 penny. Here's the detail most people miss. Look at the date, 1944. Now flip the coin over. If it doesn't have a mint mark, no D for Denver, no S for San Francisco, and if the weight or color seems unusual, you may have something extraordinary. Some weigh just 2.7 grams instead of the normal 3.11 because of those steel planchets. Others may look duller, with a silvery tint instead of that classic copper shine. That's the telltale sign. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these. Auction houses report waiting lists for serious buyers. Every time one comes to light, the coin world explodes with chatter. Because this isn't just a penny. It's a once-in-a-lifetime miracle. But here's the twist. Many people pass them up. They assume it's just an old, dirty cent. They overlook the missing mint mark. They never stop to weigh it. And in doing so, they let a $1,000,000 miracle slip through their fingers. One man's pocket change became a $1,000,000 miracle. And it could happen again. Imagine emptying your drawer tonight, running your fingers across a pile of forgotten pennies, and spotting that 1944 date with no mint mark. Your heart races. You flip it over. You realize you might be holding one of the rarest coins in U.S. history. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.